story of Matthew's gospel account of Jesus' resurrection is how the women grab his feet. The two Marys come across Jesus, risen, on the road, and they just collapse and reach out to him and hold him, as if he might disappear again if they let him go. Of course they do. This is one reason I know this is a true story, because these women behave exactly as you would expect them to under the circumstances. It reminds me of one of my favorite movies. It's from the 80s. It's called Truly, Madly, Deeply, about a woman whose husband dies and then comes back as a ghost. After his death, she cannot shake her grief, and she goes on for many weeks unable to think of any good reason for herself to go on at all. And then she comes home one day, and there he is in the living room, playing the piano. And she runs across the room and she tells him. She has to know he is real. She has to be able to hold on to him. It's the most natural reaction in the world. When you think about it, though, Jesus spent a lot of time on earth avoiding getting pinned down. His presence, his message, what he was really trying to do, and lots of things he said could be hard to follow. From the moment he was born, Jesus has been just beyond our grasp. Herod tried to eliminate him at his birth, first by tricking the wise men into telling him where this so-called Savior was, then when that didn't work, by having all the male babies in Bethlehem killed. But Joseph had fled with his family to Egypt for safety. And as Jesus grew, he seemed to become more purposefully elusive, slipping from his parents and showing up at the temple, eluding the crowd that tried to push him off a cliff in Nazareth, getting in a boat and drifting away when the crowds pressed too close after the feeding of the 5,000. It wasn't just a physical thing either. All those people following him, they couldn't quite get what he meant either. His disciples were often puzzled by his teaching. The religious authorities were often enraged by his audacity, and those who needed healing or saving were often told instead, your sins are forgiven. Who is this? They all wondered, even as they moved closer. The carpenter's son? Elijah? Only God forgives sins. He cannot be God. Define yourself, they each said in their own way. If you are the Messiah, tell us plainly, they finally demanded. But Jesus never did. Instead, he said, listen. Instead, he said, follow me. Instead, he said, who do you say that I am? It was maddening sometimes. Sometimes it still is. We wake up this morning in this world and we say, Alleluia, love wins, death has been conquered. But we're still dropping bombs. We're still fighting over how to run the country. We're still breaking one another's hearts and getting sick and being scared and acting badly. What are we talking about here? If we could just explain it, if we could get a handle on exactly how Jesus has saved us, what it all means, if we could just get him to stay with us and fix all of our problems or show us how to, it would be so much easier. We could see and be sure. We could truly live in peace. But that's not how it works, of course. The minute we think we control love is the minute we start manipulating it. The minute we think we have the power to save ourselves, we stop realizing we need the power of God, the love that does more than we can ask or imagine to save us, to keep moving us forward, to keep showing us that love is alive no matter how many ways we try to kill it, to show us how love is not ours to own. In the movie I mentioned, when the husband comes back, it is so great at first, but he is still dead. The wife tries to go on with her life, with her ghost husband puttering around the house. But it gets harder and harder. He needs the temperature set really low, and she's freezing all the time. Lots of his ghost friends start hanging around, making things crowded and uncomfortable. Some of them smell really bad. Now that she has everything she wants, back exactly where she wants it, she starts to get a little sick of it. Once love becomes her possession, it starts to lose its power. Eventually, although she hates it, she asks her husband to go on, wherever it is that he has to go. She's ready to face life without him, to believe that true love never dies, even though we do. And you can tell that's why he was there all along, to give her something to hold onto, literally, until she could make it on her own. Jesus came to save us by showing us that love will not submit to our will. Thank God. Love will be smarter and stronger and bigger and better and wilder and greater than we will ever know. And we can believe in that. But it's hard not to want to hold on, especially when it looks so dark and scary out there. It's hard not to want to have Jesus say, this is how it's going to be. It's going to be all right. Most of his time on earth, Jesus was not like this. He told strange stories, and he hung out with strange people, and he taught lessons that seemed basic enough, but the more you thought about it, the stranger they became. He pushed, and he challenged, and he never let anyone stay who they were when they met him. Lots of people loved him. Lots of people were threatened by him too. Jesus got so hard to pin down that he started to make people nervous, and then afraid, and then really, really mad, until they finally took nails and beams and one really big rock to try to make that happen. They should have known, of course. By now, we should all know that trying to force love will never make it ours. We cannot contain it. We cannot dictate how it shows up in our life, no matter how much we believe it is there. So much else crowds it out. The noise of the world, our real fear of death, all of our mourning and pain, and our sin, it must be said. All the ways that we can pervert the love of God to suit our own need for control, for safety, and the ways that we try to define it. It is for us, but it is not ours. But today, on this most unlikely day, in a completely unexpected way, there love is. Jesus himself, fully real, fully alive, meets the women on the road, and they fall to the ground and they grab a hold of him. It doesn't say so in the story, but I've always imagined that he let him stay that way for a while. He let them hold love in their hands because of all of the ways that they needed it. This is still our Easter joy today. Love does have the last word, even over death. And today, we can see it, we can smell it, we can hear it, we can taste it, we can even hold it in our hands. You can't pin Jesus down, but you can receive him. And for today, at least, we can rest right here and simply know that that is true. Love wins. Resurrection is real as anything, more real